Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I've got such an exciting video for you all and it's kind of mind-blowing to me still, but as you can see from the title, I have got an assistant psychologist job. What? I filmed my reaction after I got the phone call because, to be honest, I thought it was going to be another no, so I didn't want to film me hearing no again because you guys have already seen me crying. I'm going to insert my little reaction to being told the good news now. Oh my god! Milo! Do you understand? I can't believe it! What the heck? This is actually crazy.
Hi, Donna.
Hi Mum, I got the job. Yeah.
Oh my god, thank you, Lord. Oh my goodness.
I know, I can't believe it.
Oh my god, Sharon. That's good news. Oh my god.
I know.
Our prayers have been granted, darling. Oh my god, I can't.
I know, I can't believe it. Hello?
Hello?
I got it.
You got it?
I got it.
You got it?
Yeah. Yeah. Why would I be joking?
You got it?
Yeah.
Well, you got it? Did you actually get it?
Yes.
Right, FaceTime me.
I just told my
I'm so
mum.
happy for you. Oh my god, I can't believe you got. I'm so happy for you. Baby, you got it. Oh my god.
I can't believe it. Yeah, so I lied about not crying again. I cry at everything apparently. I'm very emotional, but I was so happy. So to give you guys some background, this post is a split post and it's for a dementia and frailty service and then also a stroke service. So for about half the week I'll be working in one and then the other week I'll be working in the other service. So it's just a perfect kind of combination, you know, to have that experience with two client groups is really quite lucky that I get that with my first job, you know. For this interview, I changed up the way I prepared for it a little bit, so I didn't do as many preparation questions like I had done in my previous interviews, but what I focused on more was like how to be reflective, because that was the main piece of feedback that I got from both of my interviews that I failed. So I did some Googling on how to be more reflective and just practiced it and really formulated answers around that and prepared less, you know, in that way. It was just more about knowing how to answer the questions in the way they wanted me to, because for all of my interviews they never asked me any of the questions that I had prepared, and I prepared a lot of questions, so I probably wouldn't recommend doing that. And I think another thing that really helped was that I printed out the person specification and I went through each point and kind of thought about scenarios where I could show off that I've done that, and I think that really did help. Again, I was trying to be reflective in these answers that I was writing out, and by no means did I try and remember all of these. I literally just did it once, and then before my interview, I think the night before, I like read through them all just so that the scenarios were in my head. But the main thing I was really focusing on was being reflective in the interview. So by being reflective, in short, is just saying how a situation that you've experienced will kind of affect your future practice. If you want some links or maybe even a full video on how to be more reflective, then I think I can do that now. I think I understand myself. And that seems to be what did it, guys. That's kind of what they focused on when they were giving me the feedback. For this interview that I got, they said that the thing that I did really well in was that I was really reflective, and they really liked that. So I'm gonna share with you guys the questions that they asked me for this interview and then maybe talk a bit more about tips and stuff. And for this interview there were 3 people who made up the panel, so obviously one psychologist from the stroke service, one psychologist from the dementia service, and then a volunteer service user. And I think quite a few services do have service users involved with the interview process because they are the people who are going to be really experiencing our care, you know? The interview was about 35 minutes long, they said, but I finished in around 25 to 30, which is why I was really worried, because again, some feedback that I got in a previous interview was that I was rushing through the questions. I wasn't going into much depth. And so when I came out of this interview 10 minutes earlier than expected, I was like, great, like I've done it again kind of thing. I've been too surface level with my answers and stuff, but turned out to be fine. One of the questions they asked me was, why do you want to work for this team? That question came up in the last interview, so go watch that one if you haven't already to see how I answered that and how you should answer it as well. Another question was, can you tell us about a difficult time in your life and how you overcame it? And then they also put like little brackets at the end of something that doesn't upset you too much. As you guys know, I'm very emotional in general, and I have gone through a lot of crappy things in life. I think everyone has, but this year especially, I was in my final year of uni and I had 2 people in my close family die, and it was really hard. And so obviously I spoke about that, but even now, like, I'm kind of like getting that feeling in my throat, and I did want to talk about it in the interview because it was an experience that I really thought I handled well. And so for that one, they're not wanting to hear your sob story. They want to know what your coping skills are like and what you learnt from that situation for future scenarios where you might become emotionally overwhelmed, I guess. Another question was, what is dementia? So for this one, I didn't only mention like the diagnosis, because I think that is pretty, like, you know, explanatory. I think everyone would do that. But I went more into saying, in reality, this diagnosis means this person will probably need a lot more support from their family. They're going to be feeling isolated, frustrated, all of those different things. Another question was, how do you overcome conflict at work, and why is overcoming it important? And for this one, I mentioned about what happened in my previous / current job. I'm still there. There was just a bit of a mix up between me and my other colleague, and it was all sorted out. And I just mentioned the reason why it's so important to resolve conflict is because you don't want it to be awkward in your sessions when you're working alongside someone, because that can really take away from the therapeutic benefits for the patient that you're working with. But also that you need to have a good team and a healthy working environment so that you can really support each other. So I said some stuff around that. Another question was main psychological input for stroke and risk associated with stroke. So for this one, I spoke more about acceptance, and I compared it to the dementia service. I said, in comparison to the dementia service, this group of people have more awareness of what's going on and what they've lost and their prognosis. And so I think for them, there's a lot more grieving and a lot more awareness surrounding it. So therefore, acceptance is very important in terms of psychological input. I mentioned with risk, like, basically everything can be a risk now depending on what has been affected. So I said, if for example their frontal lobe was damaged, then things like impulsivity might be an issue, and therefore there's a lot of risk surrounding that. It could be risk to do with money, anything. And I said if it's more physical, then it could be things as simple as cooking. And then I related that to a previous job where I had to manage risk. A girl that I used to support wanted to cook independently, and so rather than saying, no, you can't, it's not safe, we put in specific equipment that she could use safely by herself. So I kind of mentioned how that's what I would do in the future. They also asked what is a main skill you can bring to this team, and this I wasn't happy with my answer at all. This was coming towards the end of the interview, so I was, you know, my mind's a bit frazzled. So main skill that you can bring to this team, and I said communication, because it is a skill that I think I have really got down. And I just said that, which is why I think I wasn't as happy, because I think I could have said other things like my time management skills, organisation, being able to do assessments, being able to work independently, all of those things. But I just said communication. Obviously I developed it more, saying how I got that skill, which was through working within learning disability services and with older adults and things, because you have to be a bit more creative. Mentioned that, and obviously it was okay. Probably wasn't my best answer though of the interview. And then the final question was, what will you get from working with us? Which is an interesting question, isn't it? But it's funny because I feel like that question I wasn't expecting, but then because of my last interview, I knew they were more looking for me to mention something about the clinical doctorate, and so I just said that it would be an amazing opportunity, it's an amazing opportunity for me to work with in different settings. One is in a hospital, one is more community based, and then with different client groups, and then one's more health psychology. It's just amazing. Like, this is why you know that, like, everything happens for a reason. The reason why I got rejected from those 2 other ones was because of this job. I mean, I've always loved working with older adults and within dementia services. That's always been a great passion of mine. But then to also have this more health psychology focused part of the job as well, it's so unique, and I'm just so happy. And so those are the questions that I got asked. Now, the reason why I think I got the job this time in comparison to the other times that I interviewed was purely down to me being more reflective, me being less nervous, because to be honest, at this point, I didn't care. I was ready for it to be another rejection. I said to my mum, after this job, I need a break. I'm not going to be applying for anything until after January kind of thing. So I wasn't nervous, because I kind of, at this point, was just like, you know what, it's fine. Also, with that, being less nervous made me feel like I could take more time with the questions and also ask them to repeat the question. I asked them to repeat the questions so many times in this interview, and it didn't matter because my answers were good. Yeah, it's definitely down to being reflective, I think, is the main thing. So I don't think my tips are really that much different to my previous videos that I've done. However, I would say just try and get those nerves under control and focus on reflectivity. And in terms of preparation, I know a lot of people will be focusing on what the service is and what they do, but I think, as you can see from all of the questions that I've been asked over the 3 interviews that I've done, none of them are really focused on the service or the client group that you're working with. I think it's more to pull out characteristics of the person, and I think annotating on the person specification did help because it put me in that frame of mind of being reflective. And a great way to make sure you're being reflective is to state the situation, think about what went wrong or what went well, and how that's going to impact your behaviour in the future for a similar situation. That's a good kind of formula to being reflective, and that's how I did it. I don't know if it's right, and other people might do it differently, but I think that is what really helped. I'm very excited. I don't know when I'm going to be starting because of like HR delays, but when I do start, I'm definitely gonna be telling you guys what it's like, maybe doing a couple of routine videos because I love those. I'm so excited, and thank you to everyone who's like commented on the videos before, because I really like to know that I'm putting out videos that are helping people, because that is the aim of this little series, was to show the real process and the real questions, because there just isn't enough resources out there in comparison to other fields, and I just don't think it's fair. So I think we need to keep it up and help each other out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please do like it if you liked it, and comment down below if you need any help with how to be more reflective, because I think I do understand how to do it now, I think. And I've got some good resources which I used before this last interview. So yeah, subscribe if you want to. And until next time, guys, I'll see you later.